Welcome to Golden Haven, where every bedtime story becomes a peaceful dream. The library where tomorrow was written. The letter that arrived before dawn. The stars still shimmered above the quiet valley. Night had not yet given way to morning. Everything rested peacefully. The white cottage stood beneath the old maple tree, its windows glowing faintly with the last embers of the fireplace. Inside, Mira awoke before anyone else. She wasn't sure why. The room felt different, warmer, almost as if someone had whispered her name while she slept. She quietly stepped outside. The cool morning air carried the scent of lavender and dew. The world was silent. Then, a single sheet of paper drifted gently from the sky. It didn't flutter like an ordinary leaf. It floated with quiet purpose. Mira reached out. The paper landed softly in her hands. It was an envelope, cream-colored. Its edges shimmered with silver ink. On the front, written in elegant golden letters, were only 3 words. For the next story. Mira smiled. They're writing to us again. The envelope felt warm, almost alive. She hurried back inside the cottage. Captain Rowan was already awake, pouring tea. Grandmother Linnea looked up from the fireplace with a knowing smile. I thought I heard the wind delivering another invitation. Oliver rubbed his sleepy eyes. Another adventure? Horace adjusted his spectacles. The book has been glowing all night, as if hearing his words. The book of gentle stories slowly opened on its own. Its pages turned without a sound. The golden lantern on its cover shone brighter than ever before. Mira carefully placed the envelope upon the open pages. The silver seal melted into tiny sparks of light. Inside, there was only one folded letter. She unfolded it carefully. Golden words appeared one line at a time. Dear keepers of kindness, every story remembers the past. Some stories protect the present, but only one place quietly writes tomorrow. The room became perfectly still. Captain Rowan whispered, "The library." Grandmother Linnea nodded slowly. I've only heard whispers of it. The library where tomorrow was written. Oliver blinked. A library that writes the future? Horace smiled gently. Not the future itself. The choices that make it possible. As the final sentence appeared, the letter transformed into hundreds of tiny silver birds. They circled the room once, then flew through the open window toward the eastern hills. Outside, the first rays of dawn touched the horizon. Far away, beyond the forests, beyond the mountains, a magnificent building slowly appeared through the morning mist. Its countless towers reached toward the sky. Its windows glowed with soft golden light. Thousands of books floated peacefully around it like gentle birds. Above its entrance, a single silver clock chimed once. The sound carried across valleys, rivers, and forests. Inside the cottage, the crystal lantern answered with a warm glow. Captain Rowan's old lantern lit itself. The book of gentle stories revealed a new title. Chapter 24. The library where tomorrow was written. Beneath the title, one final message slowly appeared. Every tomorrow begins with the story someone chooses today. The words shimmered, then quietly faded. Mira looked toward the distant mountains. A smile appeared on her face. I think our next chapter is already waiting. Outside, a gentle breeze carried the scent of old books, cedar wood, and fresh rain. Somewhere beyond the sunrise, the doors of the mysterious library slowly began to open. The road of whispering pages. The first golden rays of morning spread across the valley. Dew shimmered upon the lavender fields like tiny stars that had forgotten to return to the sky. The white cottage stood peacefully behind them. Mira adjusted the strap of her satchel. Inside rested the book of gentle stories, the crystal lantern, and the silver letter that had become their newest invitation. Captain Rowan lifted his faithful lantern. Although the sun had risen, its gentle flame continued to glow. It still has something to guide us toward, he said with a quiet smile. Grandmother Linnea closed the cottage door. As always, she whispered, home will be waiting when the story is finished. Together, the travelers stepped onto the winding path leading east. For a long while, the journey was peaceful. Birds sang from the maple trees. Wildflowers nodded gently in the breeze. The river beside the road sparkled beneath the morning sun. Then, the air slowly changed. The scent of lavender faded. In its place came the comforting fragrance of old paper, cedar wood, and fresh ink. Oliver looked around curiously. Does anyone else smell books? Horace smiled. We're getting close. The path ahead slowly transformed. The ordinary stones beneath their feet became smooth white pages. Each page was covered with tiny golden letters. Yet whenever someone tried to read them, the words softly disappeared. Lyra knelt and touched one of the glowing pages. Immediately, a sentence shimmered into view. Every story listens before it speaks. The words floated gently into the air, then transformed into a tiny white bird that disappeared into the morning sky. Everyone watched in silent wonder. Brindle scampered happily along the path. I've never been here before. The road is alive. Ember nodded. This is the road of whispering pages. It only appears for travelers invited by the library. As they continued walking, books began appearing beside the path, not resting on shelves, but growing from the earth like flowers. Some were tiny enough to fit in a pocket. Others were as large as oak trees. Their pages turned gently in the breeze without a single hand touching them. None of the books looked old. None looked new. They simply waited, patiently, as though every story inside was still growing. Mira paused beside one small blue book. Its cover had no title, only a silver feather. When she brushed her fingers across it, the book quietly opened. Inside was a single blank page. Then, golden words slowly appeared. The next chapter has not yet been written. The page became blank once more. Captain Rowan smiled. I like that. It reminds us that tomorrow still belongs to our choices. Suddenly, a soft chime echoed somewhere ahead. Once, twice, then a third time. The travelers looked toward the horizon. Far in the distance, the magnificent library rose above the mist. Its countless towers sparkled beneath the morning light. Thousands of floating books circled the rooftops like graceful birds. The great silver clock above its entrance quietly moved its hands forward by 1 minute. Not because time had passed, but because someone, somewhere, had just chosen kindness. At that same moment, the book of gentle stories grew warm inside Mira's satchel. It opened by itself. A fresh sentence appeared across its glowing page. Every kind decision quietly writes another page of tomorrow. Before anyone could speak, a gentle figure stepped onto the road ahead. She wore a long robe the color of ivory parchment. Tiny golden letters shimmered across its sleeves. In her hands rested a single unopened book tied with a silver ribbon. She smiled warmly, then bowed. "Welcome, travelers. My name is Rowan. I am one of the library's first librarians." She looked at each of them with kind eyes. "The library has been waiting for your story, the librarian of unwritten tomorrows." The morning breeze carried the gentle scent of cedar wood and old parchment. Rowan stood quietly upon the road of whispering pages. Her ivory robes shimmered with tiny golden letters that slowly drifted across the fabric before disappearing again. The unopened book in her hands rested beneath a silver ribbon. It seemed ordinary, yet everyone could feel something peaceful sleeping inside its pages. Captain Rowan stepped forward and offered a respectful bow. "It is an honor to meet you." Rowan returned the gesture with a warm smile. "The honor belongs to every traveler who chooses kindness." Oliver looked curiously at the book she carried. "Is that our next story?" Rowan chuckled softly. "Not yet. This book has never been written." Everyone looked at one another. Horace adjusted his spectacles. "How can an unwritten book already exist?" The librarian's eyes sparkled kindly. "Because every tomorrow begins as a blank page." She gently untied the silver ribbon. The book slowly opened by itself. Inside, every page was perfectly blank. Not a single word, not a single illustration. Only soft white paper glowing with gentle golden light. Lyra whispered, "It's beautiful." Rowan nodded. "The library keeps many books. Books of memories. Books of forgotten songs. Books of promises. But these," she carefully turned another blank page, "are the books of tomorrow. They remain empty until someone chooses compassion, courage, or hope." As she spoke, a tiny golden word appeared upon the first page. "Listen." The word shimmered for only a heartbeat. Then another appeared. "Forgive." Moments later, a third. "Begin." Mira smiled. "So the books are writing themselves." Rowan gently shook her head. "No, you are writing them. Every quiet act of kindness becomes another sentence." The travelers stood in thoughtful silence. Behind them, the road of whispering pages rustled softly, as if it agreed. Brindle scampered around Rowan's feet. "Does the library know every story?" The librarian laughed. "No library can hold every story, but it can protect every beginning." She looked toward the magnificent building rising beyond the hills. "The library is not a place where endings are stored. It is where hope learns how to become tomorrow." As they resumed their journey together, the towering library grew larger with every step. Its white marble walls gleamed beneath the morning sun. Crystal windows reflected drifting clouds. Thousands of books floated peacefully around its highest towers like gentle birds returning home. Above the grand entrance, the great silver clock chimed once again. Its hands moved forward ever so slightly. Rowan smiled as she noticed Mira watching it. "You've discovered the clock of new beginnings. It doesn't measure hours. It measures moments when hearts choose kindness." Captain Rowan looked thoughtfully at the shining clock. "So every act of goodness moves time forward. In this place," Rowan replied softly, "it does." Suddenly, the book of gentle stories floated from Mira's satchel. It opened in midair. Golden words slowly appeared across a fresh page. "Libraries do not change the future." A second line shimmered beneath it. They remind us that every page is still waiting to be written. As the final word settled, the great doors of the library began to open, not with the creak of ancient hinges, but with the sound of countless pages turning together. Warm golden light spilled across the marble steps. Inside, endless shelves stretched farther than the eye could see. Floating staircases drifted gracefully through the air. Crystal chandeliers glowed like quiet constellations. And at the very center, a single empty desk waited. Upon it rested a silver feather pen, still, patient, as though it had been waiting for someone to write the next sentence. Rowan looked gently toward Mira. The library has prepared a place for you, but before you may write, you must first discover the room where lost words sleep. Far beyond the endless shelves, one small wooden door slowly opened on its own. A faint whisper drifted through the library, not calling a name, only speaking a single word. Welcome, the room where lost words sleep. The whisper lingered softly through the endless library. Welcome. It was not loud. It was not distant. It sounded like the turning of a beloved page. Warm golden light filled the magnificent hall. Books floated peacefully between towering shelves that seemed to stretch into the clouds. Crystal staircases drifted slowly from one level to another. Everywhere, there was quiet, not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of countless stories resting peacefully together. Rowan smiled. Follow me. She led the travelers through the grand hall. As they walked, the library gently greeted them. One shelf bowed ever so slightly. A floating ladder glided aside to clear their path. Even the books seemed to flutter happily, as though welcoming old friends. Oliver looked upward in amazement. I've never seen so many books. Horace chuckled, and I suspect we've only seen the first room. Captain Rowan noticed that none of the books carried numbers. Instead, each spine glowed with a tiny symbol. A feather, a lantern, a tree, a bridge, a star, a key, a flower. How do people find the right book? He asked. Rowan rested her hand on a nearby shelf. The books find the right reader. As soon as she spoke, one small emerald green book gently floated down. It hovered before Lyra. Its cover showed a single silver bird. Lyra opened it carefully. Inside was only one sentence. The kindest words are often the quietest. She smiled. The book softly closed itself and floated back to its place. Soon, they reached a peaceful hallway unlike any other. The shelves here were shorter. The lights were softer. The air carried the fragrance of lavender, cedar, and warm tea. At the end of the hallway stood a small wooden door. It was simple. No jewels, no carvings, only 3 silver words. Lost words rest here. Rowan stopped before the door. Her gentle expression became thoughtful. This room protects words that were never spoken. Mira blinked. Words that were never spoken. The librarian nodded. Apologies never given. Gratitude never expressed. Comfort never offered. Dreams never shared. They are not forgotten. They simply wait. Captain Rowan quietly lowered his eyes. We all carry a few of those. No one disagreed. Rowan gently pushed the door open. The room beyond was breathtaking. Thousands of glowing words floated peacefully through the air. Each one shone with a different gentle color. Thank you. Welcome. I forgive you. Stay. Believe. I'm proud of you. You are not alone. The words drifted like fireflies. never colliding, never fading, simply waiting. Grandmother Linnea's eyes filled with quiet tears. So many beautiful words. Aloan smiled softly. Every one of them is still hoping to be spoken someday. Suddenly, a tiny silver word floated toward Mira. It rested gently above her hands. The word was hope. At the same moment, Captain Rowan received home. Oliver received grow. Lyra received courage. Horace received restore. Alden received imagine. Brindle received joy. Ember received wonder. Each glowing word slowly dissolved into gentle light, settling quietly within their hearts. The book of gentle stories floated into the center of the room. Its pages opened. Golden letters slowly appeared. Words spoken with kindness never disappear. A second line shimmered into view. They become part of someone else's tomorrow. As the final sentence appeared, one word in the room remained still. Unlike the others, it did not glow. It rested alone upon a small wooden table, covered in a thin layer of silver dust. Mira walked toward it. She brushed the dust away with her fingertips. The forgotten word slowly became visible. It read, "Promise." The moment she whispered it aloud, the entire room filled with warm golden light. Somewhere deep within the library, a great bell rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Aloan looked toward the highest tower. Her eyes widened with quiet wonder. The Hall of Living Stories. It has just awakened. Far above them, an enormous stained glass window slowly opened. Sunlight poured inside, and from the tallest shelf in the library, a single ancient book gently floated into the sky, waiting for the next page to be written. The Hall of Living Stories. The great bell's final note faded gently through the library. A peaceful silence followed. Then, one by one, the floating books began to glow. Not brightly, just enough to fill the endless halls with a warm golden light. High above, the ancient book continued its slow journey through the air. Its weathered cover shimmered like polished oak beneath the morning sun. Tiny silver stars were carved into its spine. Yet, there was no title, only a single lantern embossed in gold. Aloan looked up with quiet wonder. It has awakened. Captain Rowan followed the book with his eyes. What is it? The librarian smiled. It is the book without an ending. Oliver tilted his head. Without an ending? Aloan nodded. Every story inside has been left unfinished. Not because it was forgotten, but because someone, somewhere, is still living the final chapter. The travelers exchanged thoughtful glances. Grandmother Linnea whispered, "Perhaps every life is like that. No one truly knows the ending while they are still writing it." The ancient book floated toward a spiral staircase made entirely of crystal. Without a word, it invited them to follow. They climbed slowly. Each step gave off a soft musical note, like distant wind chimes. As they reached the top, a pair of magnificent wooden doors stood before them. They were carved with thousands of tiny scenes. Children reading beneath trees. Families sharing meals. Friends embracing after long journeys. Travelers helping strangers across rivers. Every carving showed an ordinary act of kindness. Together, they formed one extraordinary story. Above the doors, silver letters shimmered. The Hall of Living Stories. The doors opened silently. The travelers stepped inside. The room was unlike anything they had ever imagined. There were no shelves, no tables, no chairs. Instead, Thousands of living stories floated through the air like glowing ribbons of light. Some danced with laughter, some shimmered with quiet tears, some carried peaceful lullabies. Each ribbon contained moments from someone's life. Not famous moments, not grand adventures, simple ones. A father teaching his daughter to ride a bicycle. A baker leaving fresh bread for a hungry neighbor. A teacher encouraging a frightened student. An elderly woman feeding birds on a snowy morning. Oliver watched one ribbon drift past. It isn't showing heroes. Rowan smiled. It is. They simply never called themselves that. The travelers wandered slowly through the glowing ribbons. Every story filled the hall with gentle warmth. Then, Mira noticed one ribbon that glowed more softly than the others. It drifted alone near the center of the room. When she reached toward it, the ribbon unfolded like a page. Inside, she saw a lonely little boy sitting beneath a tree with an unopened notebook. He wanted to write a story, but believed no one would ever read it. Mira's heart grew quiet. I've seen him before. Captain Rowan looked closer. The child from the cottage. The same child who had written the first sentence after the lantern of tomorrow had shone across the night sky. The ribbon shimmered again. This time, the notebook opened. The child smiled and continued writing. As each new sentence appeared, small golden birds flew from the pages into the sky. Rowan nodded gently. One story gave another story permission to begin. The book of gentle stories floated into the center of the hall. Its pages turned on their own. Golden words slowly appeared. The greatest stories are not measured by how many people read them. Another line followed. But by how many hearts they quietly encouraged to begin their own. The room glowed even brighter. Then, without warning, every ribbon of light turned toward the far wall. A soft breeze swept through the hall. The ribbons gently parted, revealing a circular doorway that had not been there before. Above it, a single silver sentence shimmered. Every story begins with a question. Beyond the doorway, a quiet chamber waited. At its center stood an ancient desk. Upon it rested an unopened book, and beside it, a silver feather pen slowly lifted into the air, as if waiting for someone's hand. Rowan looked at Mira and smiled. I believe the library is ready for you to write your first page. The first page of tomorrow. The silver feather pen hovered quietly above the ancient desk. It did not tremble. It did not fall. It simply waited. The unopened book rested before it, bound in deep blue leather that shimmered like the evening sky. A single silver star was embossed upon its cover. There was no title, only possibility. The travelers entered the chamber in respectful silence. The circular room was unlike the rest of the library. There were no towering shelves, no floating staircases, only soft candlelight dancing along white stone walls. Above them, the ceiling reflected the night sky. Tiny constellations drifted slowly across it, though it was still morning outside. Mira stepped toward the desk. The silver feather pen gently floated into her waiting hand. It felt surprisingly warm, almost as if countless storytellers had held it before her. Rowan spoke softly. This pen never writes what someone wishes would happen. It writes what kindness makes possible. Mira looked down at the blank page. What should I write? The librarian smiled. Not a destination, a beginning. Silence settled over the chamber. Captain Rowan quietly placed his lantern on the desk. Its golden flame glowed beside Mira's crystal lantern. The two lights reflected together across the blank page. Grandmother Linnea whispered, "Every beautiful story begins with hope." Horace nodded. "And every hopeful story begins with one small choice." Mira closed her eyes. She thought of every journey they had shared. The whispering bridge, the lighthouse, the dream tree, the heart garden, the tree of tomorrow's lights. Every place had taught the same gentle lesson. Kindness always found a way forward. She opened her eyes. The silver pen touched the paper. Without hesitation, she wrote just 7 simple words. Someone chose kindness before the sun had risen. The ink shimmered like liquid starlight. The moment the sentence was complete, the page glowed warmly. A gentle breeze circled the room. The candles burned a little brighter. Outside the chamber, the entire library seemed to awaken. Books fluttered joyfully through the halls. The great silver clock chimed once. Then, the blank page slowly continued writing by itself. New words appeared beneath Mira's sentence. And because of that choice, someone else found the courage to begin again. Oliver watched in amazement. The book is answering. Aloha nodded. The library never writes alone. It listens to the goodness already growing in the world. Suddenly, the silver feather pen rose gently from Mira's hand. It drew a tiny glowing star in the corner of the page. The star floated upward. It passed through the ceiling as though the stone were made of mist. Far above the library, a new star appeared in the bright blue sky, invisible to most of the world, yet quietly shining for those who still believed that kindness mattered. The book of gentle stories opened one more time. Golden words appeared across its glowing pages. No page is ever truly blank. Another line followed. It is simply waiting for the courage of the first sentence. As the final word settled, a soft knocking echoed through the chamber. 3 gentle knocks. Everyone turned toward a small wooden door hidden behind the ancient desk. It had not been there a moment ago. On its polished surface, silver letters slowly appeared. The room of unopened letters. Eloan's peaceful smile grew thoughtful. She placed her hand upon the brass handle. There are messages inside that have been waiting many years to be delivered. The handle turned by itself. A warm breeze carrying the scent of lavender, cedar, and fresh rain drifted into the room. Beyond the doorway, hundreds of beautifully sealed envelopes floated beneath a ceiling of golden light, each one still waiting for the heart it had always belonged to. The room of unopened letters. The wooden door opened without a sound. A warm breeze drifted through the chamber. It carried the familiar scent of lavender, cedar wood, fresh rain, and something else. The quiet comfort of words that had waited patiently for years. The travelers stepped inside. At first, the room seemed empty. Then, as their eyes adjusted to the gentle golden light, they looked upward. Hundreds, no, thousands of sealed envelopes floated peacefully through the air. Some were tied with silver ribbons. Others were decorated with pressed flowers. A few shimmered with tiny golden stars. None of them touched the floor. They drifted slowly, like autumn leaves carried by the gentlest breeze. Oliver whispered, "So many letters." Aloan smiled. Every one of them was written with love, but never delivered. Captain Rowan frowned gently. Were they lost? The librarian slowly shook her head. No, they simply arrived before the heart was ready to receive them. The room grew wonderfully still. Lyra stepped toward a nearby envelope. Its ivory paper glowed softly. On the front, only one sentence had been written. For the day you finally forgive yourself. She blinked. I don't think this letter belongs to me. Aloha nodded. It doesn't. The letters reveal themselves only to those who are ready. Lyra smiled and gently stepped back. The envelope floated away, disappearing among the others. Brindle scampered beneath the drifting letters, gazing upward with wide eyes. Do they ever become lonely? Alohan laughed softly. Never. They know patience better than anyone. As they wandered through the room, each traveler noticed different envelopes. Horace paused beside one that read, "For the hands that still believe broken things can be repaired." He smiled quietly. Captain Rowan found another, "For the sailor who finally understands the meaning of home." Grandmother Linnea's eyes softened as she read, "For the storyteller whose gentle voice becomes someone else's courage." None of them opened the letters. They simply bowed their heads with gratitude. The envelopes floated peacefully onward. Then, a single envelope drifted toward Mira. Unlike the others, it was made from pale blue paper. Its silver seal was shaped like a tiny lantern. Across the front, only 4 words had been written. "When hope needs you." The envelope rested gently in her hands. It felt warm, almost familiar. Mira looked toward Alohan. "May I open it?" The librarian smiled. "If it has chosen you, it has already decided." Carefully, Mira broke the silver seal. Inside rested only one folded page. She unfolded it. Golden words slowly appeared. "Dear Keeper, one day you will meet someone who believes their story is too small to matter. Do not give them answers. Do not write the ending for them. Simply remind them." The final sentence appeared slowly, as though the letter wished every word to be remembered. That every great story once began with one quiet sentence. The room fell silent. Captain Rowan smiled. "That may be the finest advice we've received." The letter shimmered gently. Then, it transformed into a tiny golden bird. The little bird circled Mira once, before flying upward to join hundreds of others hidden among the floating envelopes. At that very moment, the book of gentle stories opened once more. Its pages glowed warmly. Golden words appeared, the most important letters. Another line slowly followed, are often the ones that teach us how to encourage another heart. As the final word settled, every envelope in the room turned toward the eastern wall. They gathered together, forming a beautiful archway made entirely of letters. Beyond the arch, a spiral staircase of glowing paper slowly unfolded. It climbed higher, higher, toward the tallest tower of the library. At its summit, a single crystal window shimmered beneath the morning sky, and resting before that window was an enormous book with pages made of pure light. Alohan looked upward with quiet wonder. Her voice was almost a whisper. "The Chronicle of Tomorrow. It is ready to reveal its first page." The Chronicle of Tomorrow. The archway of floating letters shimmered softly behind them. One by one, the envelopes returned to their peaceful dance through the room of unopened letters. Only the glowing staircase remained. Each step was formed from a single page. Not paper, but light. As the travelers began climbing, every step whispered a different word. Hope, kindness, wonder, patience. The words were so gentle that they almost sounded like the wind itself. Oliver smiled. "It feels like the library is cheering us on." The Lowen laughed quietly. In its own way, it is. Higher they climbed. The lower halls slowly disappeared beneath them. Soon, they reached the highest tower of the library. The room waiting there was perfectly round. Its walls were made entirely of crystal. Morning sunlight poured through every direction, filling the chamber with shimmering rainbows. At the center stood an enormous pedestal carved from white marble. Upon it rested a magnificent book. Its cover was unlike any they had ever seen. It seemed to be woven from moonlight and starlight together. Tiny constellations drifted across its surface. The title slowly appeared in glowing silver letters. The Chronicle of Tomorrow. No one spoke. Even Brindle remained perfectly still. The great book slowly opened by itself. Its pages were not made of paper. They were made of living light. Images moved gently across them like reflections upon a peaceful lake. Captain Rowan stepped closer. "I don't see words." "You won't," Aloan replied softly. "Not yet. This chronicle tells tomorrow. Through possibilities." The first glowing page shifted. The travelers saw a little girl planting a single acorn beside a quiet river. The image changed. Years passed in moments. The tiny acorn became a mighty oak. Families gathered beneath its branches. Children laughed in its shade. Travelers rested there during long journeys. The page turned again. Now they saw a young musician giving away an old violin to someone who could not afford one. The melody born from that gift traveled across towns and generations. Another page. A teacher encouraged one shy student to read aloud. That student grew into a writer whose stories comforted millions. Lyra whispered, "So every small kindness keeps growing." Aloan nodded. The chronicle does not predict the future. It simply reveals what love makes possible. The pages continued turning. Each image showed an ordinary moment. A shared meal, a helping hand, a quiet apology, a smile offered at exactly the right time. Nothing seemed extraordinary, yet every choice created countless unseen ripples. The book of gentle stories floated gently beside the chronicle. Its pages opened. Golden words slowly appeared. No act of kindness ends where it begins. A second line shimmered into view. Its story continues in hearts it may never meet. The room glowed warmly. Then, the chronicle suddenly stopped turning. One page remained completely blank. Unlike the others, no image appeared, only soft white light. Mira looked toward Aloan. "Why is this page empty?" The librarian smiled. "Because it belongs to someone who has not yet made their choice." Just then, the silver feather pen from the writing chamber floated gently into the tower. It rested above the blank page, waiting, not for Mira, not for Aloan, waiting for the next heart willing to write tomorrow through kindness. As everyone watched, a tiny glowing feather drifted out through the crystal window. It floated into the wide blue sky, far beyond the library, beyond forests, rivers, and mountains, towards someone who had no idea that today, a single gentle decision could begin changing countless tomorrows. And deep within the library, a hidden clock chimed softly, not to mark an hour, but to welcome another story that was ready to begin. The feather that chose a heart. The tiny glowing feather drifted beyond the crystal window. It floated gracefully above forests, across winding rivers, over peaceful villages still waking beneath the morning sun. No wind guided it. No bird followed it. It seemed to know exactly where it was going. Back inside the highest tower, the travelers watched until it became a tiny point of light against the blue sky. Oliver smiled. It looks like a falling star. Eloan gently shook her head. No, it is a choosing feather. Captain Rowan looked at her with curiosity. What does it choose? The librarian's eyes reflected the morning light. It chooses a heart that is ready to begin a new story. The chronicle of tomorrow slowly turned another page. A living image appeared. Far below, in a quiet village nestled between green hills, a young woman stood outside a small schoolhouse. She held a basket filled with worn, well-loved books. Only 3 children had come that morning. Rain clouds covered the sky. Many people had told her it was pointless. Children don't read anymore, they had said. Yet, she unlocked the little schoolhouse door anyway. She placed the books neatly on a wooden table. Then she smiled, even though no one else had arrived. Lyra whispered. She didn't give up. Aloha nodded. Watch. The glowing feather descended gently. It landed upon the cover of the oldest book in her basket. The woman looked around in surprise. She didn't see the feather, but she did notice something else. One more child had quietly appeared at the doorway. Then another. Then another. Soon, the little room was filled with children eager to hear a story. The woman opened the oldest book. Her gentle voice filled the room. Outside, the rain slowly stopped. A rainbow stretched across the valley. The image in the chronicle shimmered. Then countless tiny lines of light spread outward from the schoolhouse. One child grew up to become a teacher. Another became a doctor who comforted frightened patients. Another planted libraries in villages that had never owned a single book. One quiet morning, one faithful storyteller had quietly changed countless tomorrows. The travelers stood in peaceful silence. Brindle wiped away a tiny tear. So that's how stories travel. They never stay where they're told. Aloan smiled. They grow legs. And then, they begin walking through the world. The book of gentle stories floated gently beside the chronicle. Golden words appeared across its pages. A story shared with love. Another line slowly followed. Always finds another storyteller. As the last word settled, the great silver clock above the library chimed once. Not loudly, but with quiet purpose. The hands moved forward by a single minute. Eloan looked toward the tower ceiling. The library has recorded another beginning. Captain Rowan lifted his lantern. I don't think we've come here merely to read. The librarian's warm smile returned. No, you came to remember that every person becomes an author, the keeper of the final chapter. The hidden clock chimed softly through the library. Its gentle notes drifted across every hall, every staircase, every floating shelf. For a brief moment, every book became perfectly still. Aloan looked toward the tallest tower. The keeper has awakened. Captain Rowan lowered his lantern. The keeper of what? She smiled. The final chapter. A quiet breeze swept through the crystal tower. The chronicle of tomorrow slowly closed. Not because the story had ended, but because another one was about to begin. The travelers followed Aloan through a narrow spiral staircase hidden behind the great chronicle. The stairs climbed even higher, so high that the library itself seemed to disappear beneath soft white clouds. At last, they reached a small circular room beneath the highest dome. Unlike the grand halls below, this chamber held only three things: a wooden desk, a single rocking chair, and a large round window overlooking the entire world. Seated beside the window was an elderly man. His silver hair fell gently to his shoulders. He wore a simple brown robe with no symbols or ornaments. A steaming cup of tea rested beside him. He quietly watched the sunrise. Without turning around, he spoke. "I've been expecting you." His voice was calm, warm, like the comforting final words of a favorite bedtime story. The travelers bowed respectfully. The old man smiled and finally turned. His eyes sparkled with quiet joy. "My name is Elias. I am the keeper of the final chapter." Oliver looked around the nearly empty room. "I expected more books." Elias chuckled. "So does everyone." He pointed toward the wide window. "My library is out there, beyond the glass." The travelers could see forests, villages, mountains, rivers, countless people living their ordinary lives. Every smile, every conversation, every helping hand, every quiet act of love. Elias folded his hands. The final chapter of every story is never written inside a book. It is written in the life someone chooses after closing it. Silence filled the room. The words settled gently into every heart. Mira looked at the old keeper. "So stories don't truly end?" He smiled. "They become people." Captain Rowan's lantern glowed warmly. "I think I understand." Elias nodded. A bedtime story isn't meant to keep someone awake. It's meant to help them wake tomorrow with a gentler heart. The book of gentle stories floated into the center of the room. It opened one final time. Golden words slowly appeared. The last page of every story. Another line shimmered beneath it. "Is the first page of someone's tomorrow." As the final word appeared, the room filled with soft golden light. Outside the window, hundreds of tiny stars slowly faded into the morning sky. Yet one remained. The little star born from Mira's first sentence. It still shone, invisible to most, but quietly guiding hearts that needed hope. Elias stood and walked toward a small wooden chest resting beneath the window. He carefully opened it. Inside lay a single object, a tiny silver bookmark. It was shaped like a feather. Upon it were engraved the words, "Return whenever kindness needs another story." He handed the bookmark to Mira. "The library gives this only once. It is not a key. It is an invitation." Mira accepted it with both hands. "I'll treasure it." "I know," Elias replied softly. Then, a gentle breeze turned every page of the book of gentle stories at once. When the pages settled, a brand new title appeared. Not Chapter 24, not 25. Simply, the next story. No subtitle, no destination, only possibility. The old keeper smiled toward the travelers. And somewhere, another adventure has already begun. Outside, far beyond the mountains, a lonely bell echoed once across a peaceful valley wrapped in morning mist. Someone was waiting to be found. The door that opened only once. The lonely bell echoed once more across the distant valley. Its sound was gentle, almost hidden within the morning breeze. Yet everyone in the highest tower heard it. Elias closed his eyes and smiled. It has begun. Mira looked toward the endless horizon beyond the great window. What has begun? The keeper of the final chapter picked up his warm cup of tea. The next invitation. He walked quietly toward a small wooden cabinet standing beside the window. Unlike every magnificent object within the library, the cabinet was wonderfully simple. It carried no glowing symbols, no silver carvings, only the marks left behind by many gentle hands over many years. Elias opened it. Inside rested dozens of tiny wooden keys. Each one was different. One resembled a feather. Another looked like a little tree. One was shaped like a lantern. Another like an open book. Oliver blinked in surprise. So many keys. What do they unlock? Elias smiled warmly. They unlock opportunities, never doors. The travelers looked at one another. Horace adjusted his spectacles. I don't understand. The old keeper gently lifted the smallest key. It was carved in the shape of a tiny seed. This key once belonged to a farmer. He used it to begin a garden that fed an entire village. He placed it back, then picked up another, a silver quill. This one belonged to a quiet writer. One story helped a lonely child believe in tomorrow. Next came a tiny lighthouse. It belonged to a sailor who never realized how many people found hope because he simply kept his light burning. Grandmother Linnea smiled softly. So none of these opened locks. Elias nodded. They opened hearts. At that moment, the silver bookmark Mira carried began glowing. Its feather shimmered with a warm golden light. Slowly, it floated from her hands. It joined the little wooden keys in the cabinet. But instead of becoming wood, it transformed into crystal. A new key, one that had never existed before. Its shape was unlike the others. It resembled both a feather and a tiny lantern. Brindle whispered, "The library made a new one." Eloan smiled proudly. It creates a new key every time someone chooses to carry hope forward. The book of gentle stories floated gently into the air. Its pages opened by themselves. Golden words appeared. The greatest doors, another line shimmered beneath, are opened by ordinary acts of kindness. The room filled with peaceful light. Then, the cabinet quietly closed itself. A soft click echoed through the tower. Suddenly, the floor beneath the travelers glowed. A circular map slowly appeared, not of countries, not of oceans, but of stories. Tiny points of golden light stretched across forests, villages, mountains, and coastlines. Some shone brightly, others flickered gently. A few had only just begun glowing. Captain Rowan studied the map. Every light is someone's story. Elias nodded. And every story is connected. Mira noticed something unusual. Near the very edge of the glowing map, one tiny light blinked softly. Unlike the others, it stood completely alone. She pointed toward it. "What's that one?" The keeper's gentle smile became thoughtful. "That is a story still waiting for its first page." As everyone watched, the lonely light shimmered once. Then, a magnificent wooden door appeared in the middle of the tower. It was carved from ancient oak. Golden vines curled across its surface. At its center, a single silver sentence slowly appeared. "This door opens only once. No handle, no lock, only waiting." The entire library became perfectly silent. Elias looked toward Mira, then toward every traveler. His voice was calm. "When one story ends, another quietly asks if you are ready." The wooden door slowly began to glow. Beyond its edges, warm sunlight spilled into the tower, and somewhere on the other side, a child laughed, a river sang, and an entirely new adventure waited for its very first sentence. Beyond the door that opened only once, the ancient wooden door glowed with a warm golden light. No handle, no keyhole, only the silver words upon its surface. This door opens only once. The travelers stood quietly before it. No one reached out. No one hurried. It felt as though the door was waiting, not for a hand, but for a heart. Elias smiled gently. Many people believe this door leads to a place. He slowly shook his head. It doesn't. It leads to a beginning. Mira stepped closer. The silver bookmark tucked inside the book of gentle stories began to glow. Captain Rowan's lantern answered with its familiar golden flame. Around them, the entire library became wonderfully still. Even the floating books paused in midair. Rowan whispered, "The library is listening." Mira looked at the ancient door. "What must we do?" Elias folded his hands. "Nothing extraordinary. Simply choose." She closed her eyes for a moment. She remembered the whispering bridge, the dream tree, the heart garden, the tree of tomorrow's lights, and every gentle soul they had met along the way. When she opened her eyes, she smiled. "I choose to keep walking toward kindness." The silver sentence upon the door shimmered, then slowly disappeared, without anyone touching it. The door opened inward. Warm sunlight poured into the tower. Beyond it stretched a peaceful valley unlike any they had ever seen. Golden meadows swayed beneath a gentle breeze. A clear river wound between flowering hills. Tiny cottages rested beneath ancient oak trees. Children laughed as they chased butterflies. Neighbors greeted one another with warm smiles. No castles, no magic towers, no enchanted forests. Only ordinary life, made extraordinary by kindness. Oliver looked around in amazement. "It looks normal." Elias smiled. "It is. And that is why it is beautiful." The travelers stepped through the doorway. As soon as they crossed the threshold, the valley seemed to welcome them. A baker waved from a small stone shop. A gardener offered fresh flowers. A little girl ran to help an elderly woman carry a basket of apples. No one knew who the travelers were, yet kindness flowed naturally from one heart to another. Grandmother Linnea's eyes glistened. "So this is where tomorrow is written." Aloha nodded. "Not inside the library. Out here, one gentle choice at a time." The book of gentle stories floated into the warm afternoon air. Its pages turned slowly. Golden words appeared. "Stories are born in books." Another line shimmered beneath. "But they come alive through the way we choose to live." The words drifted upward like tiny golden birds. They disappeared into the blue sky. Just then, a young boy approached the travelers. He held a small notebook against his chest. Its pages were blank. He looked at Mira with shy eyes. "I want to write stories." He hesitated. "But I'm afraid they won't matter." Mira knelt beside him. She remembered the letter from the room of unopened letters. She did not give him the answer. Instead, she smiled warmly, then gently said, "Every great story begins with one quiet sentence." The boy looked down at his notebook. His smile slowly grew. He opened the first page, picked up a pencil, and wrote a single line. The moment the pencil touched the paper, far away, the great silver clock inside the library chimed once. The chronicle of tomorrow turned another page, and high above the valley, a tiny new star quietly appeared in the afternoon sky, invisible to most, but forever part of tomorrow. At the edge of the meadow, Elias watched peacefully. The library has done its work. Captain Rowan smiled. And now, our story belongs to the world. A gentle breeze carried the scent of fresh bread, blooming roses, and rain-washed earth. Somewhere beyond the distant hills, another unopened letter had already begun its journey, waiting patiently for the next heart ready to receive it. The letters that learned to fly. The afternoon sun bathed the peaceful valley in golden light. The little boy hugged his notebook close to his heart. He looked at the single sentence he had written. Then he smiled, not because it was perfect, but because it was his beginning. Mira smiled back. Take care of your story. The boy nodded happily. I will. He ran toward the village square, where laughter and birdsong drifted through the warm air. As he disappeared around the corner, something wonderful happened. High above the valley, tiny silver envelopes began appearing among the clouds. At first, there was only one, then another, then dozens. Soon, hundreds of little letters floated peacefully across the blue sky. Oliver pointed upward. The letters. Brindle laughed with delight. They're flying. The envelopes danced gently in the breeze like graceful white birds. None of them fell. None of them hurried. Each one glowed with a soft golden seal. The Lowen looked upward with quiet joy. The room of unopened letters is changing. Captain Rowan watched in amazement. They're leaving the library. She nodded. They've been waiting long enough. The travelers stood silently as the letters drifted in every direction. One crossed the distant mountains. Another floated over a quiet sea. Others traveled toward villages, forests, lonely cottages, and bustling cities. Each one searching, not for an address, but for the heart that was finally ready. Grandmother Linnea whispered, "Every letter knows exactly where it belongs." "Yes," Elias replied gently, "because kindness is never truly lost. It always finds its way home." The book of gentle stories floated into the warm afternoon breeze. Its pages opened. Golden words slowly appeared. The right words. Another line shimmered beneath them. Always arrive at the right moment. As the final sentence settled, one silver envelope separated itself from the others. It drifted slowly toward Mira. Its seal was shaped like a tiny feather. Unlike the earlier letters, there was no message written on the front. Only one small question. Who still needs hope? Mira held the envelope gently. She looked at Elias. "I don't know the answer." The old keeper smiled. "You don't need to. The letter already does." Without opening it, Mira released it back into the wind. The envelope spun happily through the sunlight, then soared beyond the hills, toward someone they would never meet. Captain Rowan watched until it disappeared. Sometimes, the kindest thing we can do is trust that hope knows where to go. Elias nodded with quiet pride. You've learned the library's greatest lesson. It was never about collecting stories. It was always about setting them free. Just then, a soft breeze stirred the meadow. Thousands of tiny white flower petals rose into the air. They circled the travelers in a peaceful dance. At the center of the swirling petals, a magnificent white dove appeared. Its feathers shimmered with silver light. Around its neck hung a tiny golden key. The dove landed upon a nearby stone. It bowed respectfully, then spoke in a calm, gentle voice. "The Sky Archive requests the keepers of kindness." Everyone fell silent. Even Elias looked surprised. "The Sky Archive? Rowan whispered. I thought it existed only in legends. The dove gently spread its glowing wings. It has opened its gates. For the first time in 1,000 years. Far above the clouds, a vast city of floating books, crystal bridges, and radiant towers slowly emerged beneath the evening sky. Its golden gates sparkled like the first stars of night. Somewhere within that magnificent place, a story had been waiting, long before the library itself was ever built. The sky archive above the clouds. The magnificent city floated high above the clouds. Its radiant towers shimmered beneath the golden light of the setting sun. Crystal bridges stretched from one floating island to another. Thousands of glowing books drifted peacefully through the sky like graceful birds. The travelers stood speechless. Even Captain Rowan, who had crossed countless seas beneath endless stars, had never imagined a place like this. Brindle's little tail twitched excitedly. It's beautiful. It's like the sky learned how to tell stories. The white dove bowed once more. My name is Aster. I am a messenger of the Sky Archive. Around his neck, the tiny golden key sparkled gently. Rowan smiled with quiet respect. The Sky Archive is older than the library. Aster nodded. The library protects stories that are being written. The Sky Archive protects stories that inspire worlds. Mira looked toward the floating city. Then why have you called us? The dove spread his glowing wings. Because something has become silent. The peaceful wind seemed to pause. Even the floating books slowed. Captain Rowan asked softly, what has become silent? Aster looked toward the highest tower of the Sky Archive. There is a bell. It has welcomed every new story for thousands of years. It has never failed to ring. He lowered his head. But 3 dawns ago, it became silent. The travelers exchanged worried glances. Grandmother Linnea whispered, can a bell simply forget how to sing? Aster replied gently, not by itself. It only falls silent. When hope stops reaching it, the words settled quietly into every heart. Elias looked toward the glowing city. Then somewhere, someone has stopped believing their story matters. The book of gentle stories floated softly into the air. Its pages turned without a breeze. Golden words appeared. When one heart loses hope, another line shimmered beneath it. The whole world grows a little quieter. As the final sentence glowed, the silver bookmark inside the book lifted into the air. It pointed toward the clouds, toward the floating city, toward the silent bell. A gentle staircase of light slowly appeared. Each step was woven from drifting clouds and tiny stars. Oliver smiled. I think the sky has sent us an invitation. Aster nodded. The archive welcomes only those who believe that even the smallest story deserves to be heard. One by one, the travelers stepped onto the staircase. With every step upward, the valley below became smaller. The library's towers shimmered peacefully in the distance. The rivers reflected the colors of the evening sky. Soon, they reached the great gates of the Sky Archive. The gates were carved from white crystal. Across them were etched thousands of names. Not kings, not queens, not famous heroes. Ordinary people, gardeners, teachers, mothers, fathers, artists, children, dreamers. Beside every name, one tiny golden star glowed. Mira gently touched one of them. It became warm beneath her fingertips. Aster smiled. Every name belongs to someone whose kindness became another person's beginning. The crystal gates slowly opened. Beyond them stretched endless halls filled with floating constellations instead of ceilings. Books made of starlight rested upon silver shelves. The air shimmered with peaceful music. Far ahead, at the center of the archive, hung the great silver bell. Beautiful, ancient, silent. No breeze moved it. No sound echoed from within. Only quiet waiting. Astor's voice became almost a whisper. For 1,000 years, it greeted every hopeful beginning. He looked gently toward Mira, and now it is waiting for someone to remind it why stories are worth believing in. Far above the silent bell, one lonely star flickered softly, as if it were holding on, waiting for a single note to awaken the sky once again. The bell that remembered every story. The great silver bell hung motionless beneath the crystal dome of the sky archive. It reflected the light of countless stars. Yet, it made no sound. The vast hall was filled with peaceful silence. Not an empty silence, a waiting silence, as though the bell were listening for something it had not heard in a very long time. Astor slowly walked toward it. His tiny golden key shimmered against his white feathers. For thousands of years, this bell welcomed every new story born from kindness. It celebrated every hopeful beginning. He lowered his head, but now it has forgotten its own song. Captain Rowan gazed thoughtfully at the bell. Can a memory truly disappear? Before Astor could answer, a gentle voice echoed through the hall. No. The travelers turned. An elderly woman stepped quietly from behind the silver bell. Her robes were woven from threads that shimmered like the Milky Way. Long silver hair flowed gently over her shoulders. In her hands, she carried a small lantern made entirely of crystal. Its flame was not golden. It glowed with soft starlight. She smiled warmly. I am Seraphine, the keeper of echoes. Everyone bowed respectfully. Seraphine returned the greeting. The bell has forgotten nothing. She rested one hand upon the cool silver surface. It is waiting to hear a story told with no expectation of reward. Oliver frowned gently. But haven't people always told kind stories? Seraphine nodded. Yes, but sometimes people begin counting applause instead of touching hearts. The hall became wonderfully still. Mira thought about those words. A story was never meant to be measured only by numbers. Its true value lived quietly inside the hearts it comforted. The keeper of echoes smiled at Mira. Will you tell the bell a story? Mira looked surprised. I don't know a grand story. You don't need one. Seraphine replied. The bell remembers truth. Mira closed her eyes, then softly began. Once, there was a little boy who believed his story didn't matter. He wrote one sentence anyway. That sentence gave another child the courage to begin. She smiled gently, and that child, one day, comforted someone who felt completely alone. The hall remained silent. She continued. There was also an old lighthouse keeper who never realized that every light he kept burning became hope for strangers far away. Captain Rowan lowered his eyes with a quiet smile. Mira continued. There was a grandmother who believed bedtime stories were simply gentle words. But every story became a safe place for someone who needed peace. Grandmother Linnea's eyes glistened softly. Mira looked toward the great silver bell, and there were many others. A gardener, a clockmaker, a dream keeper, a librarian. They never asked whether the world would remember them. They simply chose kindness. Again and again, the final words drifted gently through the archive. No one moved. No one spoke. Then, a tiny vibration traveled across the silver bell. Barely noticeable. Aster looked up hopefully. The crystal lantern in Seraphine's hands glowed brighter. The book of gentle stories floated into the air. Its pages opened. Golden words slowly appeared. Stories remembered by the heart. A second line shimmered beneath. Never grow silent. At that very moment, the great bell moved. Just once, a single clear note echoed across the sky archive. The sound was gentle, warm, peaceful. It spread across the floating city, beyond the clouds, across the library, over forests, rivers, villages, and distant seas. Every place touched by kindness heard it. Far below, children smiled without knowing why. A lonely traveler looked toward the stars. An elderly woman opened an old book she had not read in years. Someone who had almost given up decided to try one more time. The bell had remembered its song. Seraphine looked toward the glowing sky. Her peaceful smile reflected the stars above. It is ringing once more. But she turned toward the travelers. There is still one final page waiting. High above the sky archive, the stars slowly gathered together. They formed the shape of an enormous open book. Its final page remained completely blank. Upon it appeared just 4 glowing words. Write it together. The page shimmered softly, as though inviting not one storyteller, but every kind heart in the world. The story written by every heart. The 4 glowing words remained suspended among the stars. Write it together. The great silver bell continued to sing its peaceful note. Its melody drifted through the sky archive, across the clouds, beyond the library, and into the hearts of countless people below. No one hurried to write upon the final page. Everyone understood. This page could never belong to a single person. Seraphine gently lifted her crystal lantern. Its starlit flame reflected across the blank page floating in the heavens. The greatest stories, she said softly, are never written by one hand. They are written by many hearts. One act of kindness at a time. Mira stepped forward. She did not take up a pen. Instead, she simply placed her hand over her heart. Captain Rowan did the same. Then Grandmother Linnea, Horace, Oliver, Lyra, Alden, Ember, Brindle, Aster, Eloan, Elias, and finally, Seraphine herself. The moment every heart joined in quiet purpose. The blank page began to glow. No ink appeared. No words were written. Instead, tiny scenes of kindness blossomed across the page like constellations. A child sharing an umbrella with a friend. A nurse comforting a frightened patient. A teacher staying after class to encourage one struggling student. A stranger returning a lost wallet. A grandfather planting a tree whose shade he might never sit beneath. A family reading a bedtime story together. None of the people knew one another. Yet together, they were writing the same story. The book of gentle stories floated high into the starlit sky. Its cover opened for the final time. Golden letters slowly appeared. Chapter 24. The library where tomorrow was written. Beneath the title, one final message shimmered into view. Tomorrow is not written by perfect words. It is written by gentle choices. And every heart holds a pen. The words glowed softly. then became thousands of tiny golden birds. The birds soared from the pages and scattered across the heavens. Wherever one landed, a new story quietly began. Far below, the little boy in the peaceful village looked up from his notebook. He smiled and wrote another sentence. The teacher in the small schoolhouse welcomed a new child through her door. The gardener planted another seed. The lighthouse keeper trimmed his lamp before nightfall. The grandmother opened another storybook for a child who could not sleep. None of them knew why they felt hopeful. They simply did, because kindness had traveled farther than anyone could see. High above the clouds, the sky archive slowly faded into shimmering starlight. The great silver bell rang one final, gentle note. Not as a goodbye, but as a promise. The library's crystal towers glowed warmly below. Its doors remained open. Its shelves remained full. And somewhere within its endless halls, a fresh blank page quietly waited. Not for a famous hero, not for a perfect storyteller, but for the next ordinary person who would choose kindness. Captain Rowan smiled as he looked toward the horizon. I don't think our journeys are ending. Elias laughed softly. They never do. They simply become someone else's beginning. Mira closed the book of gentle stories and held it close. She looked at her friends, then at the endless sky filled with peaceful stars. Our stories will always belong to every heart that needs them. A gentle breeze carried the scent of cedar, lavender, and fresh rain. One by one, the travelers walked home beneath the evening sky. Behind them, a single new star appeared. It shone beside all the others. Not brighter, not larger, just quietly faithful. A reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can become part of the greatest story ever told. Crescent Moon Sleep Blessing. As this gentle story comes to its peaceful close, may your heart always find hope in the smallest moments. May every kind word you speak become a light for someone else. May every quiet choice you make help write a brighter tomorrow. And tonight, as sleep gently finds you, may peaceful dreams surround your heart like stars around the night sky. Rest deeply, dream kindly, and remember, every beautiful tomorrow begins with one gentle choice today. Good night. Until our next journey together. Full sleep stories on Golden Haven. Subscribe for peaceful nights.